Okay, cool. All right, drum roll.
Game Economist Cast episode.
Man,
Why
30
does this
something.
always
maybe
happen?
20, 38, 39.
38.
All right, nice.
38 GDC Special
38.
Edition.
Let's start with utility. I don't understand what it even means.
Everybody has some kind of utils in their head that they're calibrating.
There's hardly anything that hasn't been used for money.
In fact, there may be a fundamental problem in modeling what I want to model.
This is the third GDC special edition?
This is the third one.
Yeah. You did the one on the floor.
That's true. Third GDC Special Edition. Not as special as last year's.
We're missing Chris. Chris couldn't make it out this year.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I'm sorry. I feel
That's
bad.
right. You weren't the only one who didn't make it out this year. There was
That's
a
what I
much lower
hear.
time.
You could feel it on like the floor this GDC. Like
I heard it's like 67% full.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. And because they charge
Crazy.
per booth, you can really start to see it thinning out. Like it was a lot of countries, like Pakistan, Chile. A lot of those countries show up, but I thought they had an outsized presence, or it felt like a bigger share of the presence.
Yeah, the country-based booths are the India, Italy, Spain. They're like Brazil. They're like local games.
Japan was there. I was like, why does Japan need to be there? Everyone wants to be in Japan. It's not that hard. Just give me the visa.
Yeah.
I'm there. Square Enix wants me. You have me. I know. That was a little depressing.
That Japan
I
was
heard
there?
they dismantled the Avalanche booth. No Web3 presence.
No, you actually have to earn it. You have to go like on a clicker game, and if you clicked it enough, Avalanche would appear.
What? Is this a joke? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Gotta
I'm
trade
just
in.
trying to make fun of Telegram these
Yeah,
days.
like the cookie clicker crap.
Gabe Layden was here as well.
CEO, a former CEO of Machine Zone.
Former CEO of Machine Zone, now CEO of Limit Break, pumping app tokens, but not as much as having, I would say, a refined view on Web3. Web3,
Okay.
definitely like very small presence here. He keeps being more and more reasonable about what Web3 could be to games, which is, oh man, what if we could just add 20, 30% top line from Web3? It doesn't need to replace Web2 economies, which I feel like is a retreat.
They were dreaming crazy high in the sky shit before.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
was
it's gonna
running
change
some
the world.
numbers. Like Avalanche's valuation 2 months ago, their market cap was 50% of Roblox's market cap. That gives you the idea of like how mispriced these things are. Of course, this game is not worth $5 billion. It's a video game with 10,000 players.
3 bullet point summary of GDC. 1, game industry in decline. Not much more to say there for the highlights. If you don't check out, I think that Matthew Ball article I thought did a good job summarizing it. Point 2, I figured out how to get a bunch of free drink and food. I wasn't sponsored to come. I'm a little salty about that. I won't get into it. But yeah, I purchased 0 alcoholic drinks and I minimized my food budget this year by, so I'll talk about how I did that. And then point 3, I think the thing I'm realizing about GDC is that this is like an industry, like labor collective. If that makes sense. This is for game developers, right? This is not for game companies. This is not for like sponsors. And they're welcome here. Give us your money so we can funnel it towards the community. But at the end of the day, this is something for developers, by developers. And yeah, you love to see it.
And I heard that if you're a speaker, you get a free lunch.
Yeah.
There is such thing as a free lunch, and it's
You
at
know,
GDC.
A subsidized lunch. Yeah. Yeah. I gave a talk to this time, which was fun. And yeah, you get a free pass to the whole event. They gave you $75 of credit to spend on food at the expo
Nice.
floor, which everything on the expo floor is overpriced. So it's not actually worth $75. Literally a Coors Light was $13, which is exorbitant. And
That sounds about normal for SF. That might actually be
no.
below
like
SF prices.
$8 top.
How was the roundtable, Eric?
It was good. We decent turnout, maybe around 50 people, and a bunch of us went out for lunch after, which is great. Honestly, the
That's
lunch was, I
amazing.
think, more fun than the round
Well,
table.
you got to talk about this
50
top.
people? Oh my, dude, that's literally 1,000,000% more than last year. We got
Yeah.
where we got 0. If you count Eric, then we had 1 show up.
Infinite growth rate, right?
Yeah.
Infinite growth rate,
Yeah.
infinity and beyond.
This
What
is
was the
not
talk?
looking good for me as an experiment. My attendance correlates to 0.
They only knew Chris was gone. It was like, let's pile into the
They're like,
room.
I mean,
Let's
just
go.
after last year, I was just like, I'm just gonna be obnoxious about it on LinkedIn. I'm just gonna fucking blast this everywhere I can.
It worked. That's amazing.
Honestly, the talk was just like a bunch of fun facts. Like the talk was like a listicle of here's an economics phenomena, like perverse incentives. Here's a real world example. Here's a game example. And I just did that like 10 times. It was fun. There was a good discussion. A pretty wide range of people showed up. Like you got designers, product people. There was like a ex-lawyer narrative designer there. There's some like communist radical there talking about how he wanted to create for like self-preservation or whatever. Some VC showed up. Yeah, it was a wide crowd.
It kind of matches
Man.
like the Game Economist cast audience. Like the more we meet people, the weirder it gets.
Yeah.
It's a random collection of people.
Yeah.
Like I remember there was a Frisbee guy who listened.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like-
the guy
Oh
was
my God, the
strong
Frisbee
opinions
guy.
about the rules of Ultimate Frisbee.
Ultimate Frisbee.
yeah, it's truly a strange collective that are like into
Wow.
gaming economics. Like
Yeah.
it's not just the econ people, it's not just the game people. There's a lot of people who are just into weird stuff.
Yeah.
I guess we make it there. I like that summary. That's a really good summary.
Cool
Top three. All right. So I would say Gabe Layden said something, and I said it on Deconstructor Fun podcast, and I'll say it again here. Fuck, man, we gotta want to live. Games industry has to want to live. Like we have to like actively try to like preserve ourselves and want to grow. The most exciting thing here can't be real money gambling or sweeps. And if you're not familiar with sweeps, it's basically just a lottery system that we figured out how to put into mobile gaming. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of fascinating, interesting problems that they have, but that can't be the bleeding edge of gaming. I refuse to accept that. It's not going to be crypto. We know that, or at least it's not going to be crypto to save us, so to speak. What else is there on the horizon, like to get truly excited about these days? I'm struggling with that.
My perspective is that we're just gonna match GDP and consumption growth, and there aren't any giant like booms on the horizon. And games has been so used to like a giant boom happening every 5 years that like we've come to expect it, but we might just be holding steady for now.
And
Don't games usually do good during recessions? Don't we usually get a bump during recessions? Because
So
everybody's sad.
I've heard that, but I'm pretty sure there was just like a super strong correlation with the Wii's success during the 2008 financial crisis. Like I'm pretty sure it was just that.
Eric Seifert has
Maybe
a
it'll
really
be the
good
Switch
piece on
too.
that. The thing that Eric Seifert points out is, first of all, we haven't had a free-to-play recession really since 2008, right? 2008 free-to-play didn't really exist. So we don't really know how free-to-play is going to do in a recession. So when you compare the things we say about consoles, I find that hard. The thing is, everyone seems to want gaming to be both a luxury good, a normal good, and inferior good, which means that we're going to grow no matter what. And I think that's not how this works. That's not how the income elasticity of demand works.
I'll say it's such a wide umbrella at this point that it is a inferior good, normal good, and luxury good. Just some sector of it is. And so even if games as an aggregate doesn't grow, someone is doing all right. But then at that point, it's like, when we say games industry, is that it's like saying image industry, right? Or like video industry. Okay, but that means so many different things, like video advertisement, TV shows, movies, YouTube. And
Hasn't console growth been pretty flat? And the only real growth that we've seen is actually from mobile. It's like
that's
over the last 10
flatlining,
years,
right? It's the
it
fear
looks,
is that
yeah, exactly. That's where crypto's going to come in. It's gonna take the rest of the
We
cake.
believe.
I guess for
So
listeners, just to summarize the bleak outlook for gaming, there's no big growth vector in sight, right? AR, VR, nothing there. Crypto, not much there. What else was there? UGC, most of those things have flopped. There was all these venture-backed live service games, all those like X, Riot, Blizzard, Epic people. Most of those have flopped. So yeah, there's no like gold, and there's no like golden sunset in sight. And then on top of that, developing countries are getting so much better at making their own games. We see stuff like Marvel Rivals coming out of China and eating part of the US market. Whereas in the past, it was like the developed economies were eating the emerging economies markets. And so that is, I'm sure China Games is doing, but China's problems. But that, from the perspective of a Western developer, that is also hurting us as the game industry.
It's interesting. I actually wrote a blog about my trip to India with my wife for a wedding. And I was just like, this is not the place to extract value right now in the games industry. I understand why the in-app purchasing is so low in those countries. And then, Phil, I think you were talking about like developing countries on link or something similar. The only way we're going to grow is if the world economy grows, which I said, I think in 2 podcast episodes ago, and everyone laughed at me, but I feel like now everyone's, oh, geez. I wanted to ask real quick, what was Gabe Layden's sobering take on Web3? Has he just priced in is his pitch finally like a reasonable, rational, does it have a rational P/E ratio? Is it no longer insane?
I didn't see his talk on Sunday where a lot of this was communicated secondhand. I think everyone knows what Web3 is, and now it's up to everyone else to figure out how they're going to build around that. And I think he's made it a conscious decision to not buy into the bullshit with crypto. He knows it's not sustainable. He knows that we need more sustainable, long run, durable, and dependable things. And a lot of what's happening in crypto does not reflect that. And I think willing to point that out, which I love, pointing out that there's a lot of wash trading on Ethereum.
3 years too late.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But I think, okay, if you're pitching to a Web2 publisher and you're like, hey, we're going to grow your game by 20 to 30%, we're not going to replace any of the Web2 stuff, and it's just about expanding the audience with this feature, that becomes more of a persuasive pitch, right? If I'm a Scopely looking at Marvel Strike Force or even Star Trek Fleet Command, there might be something there.
I don't want to turn this into the Web3 debate, but I'm skeptical. Who wants this thing?
Everybody is coming
By
to
how
the same
you've changed.
realization.
What?
Like
I'm always saying that. I had to toe the company line.
Fair
I'm not toeing it anymore.
Fair enough.
Dude, in
I've
my
talked
talk, I was
to-
saying
I've
so much
talked to-
shit about Riot. Yeah.
I've talked to a number of Web3 founders whose companies have recently gone under, and they all have like very similar sobering takes. It's like, oh shit, we did this the wrong way. It was just like everything was priced before there was a product. And I think that you're just going to get a bunch of misprices when you do that. But yeah, you know what's funny about Web3 is like the only companies that are still around are the ones with tokens, ironically. It's like all these guys were like, we're not going to do a token because we're going to do it the right way. And like now they're out of business. And it's, oh, geez. Don't know what to think of that.
Cash out while it's hot. What do they say? Capture your gain, take your gains. That's the finance thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Never heard this? Pigs
No.
get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
Who is a pig and who is a hog?
Let's just don't be too greedy.
A
Don't
hog,
be
just
too
a
greedy.
fat pig?
Yeah.
Oh,
much.
okay.
It's a
Okay.
big pig.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so Web3 is dead. Gaming is also suffering though. Hey, you know what? Web3 just got a bad break. They got into things right when the industry was cooling on. The argument I'm hearing in crypto right now is that the reason that crypto is suffering so much is because the Fed was making non-risk assets more attractive and it killed crypto. Crypto's a risky asset, which is probably the most creative and obscene, like trying to get out of jail card I've ever heard. It's
Can
like
I-
Apple
can I-
being like, fuck you, Fed, you fucked us over because our share price is more volatile than a treasury.
Can I double down on realizing GDC is really for us and no one else?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about it.
Because I finally got a venue pass to the talks, and the talks are clearly, it feels like it's for a colleague. It's refreshing. It feels honest. It feels refreshing. It
Wait,
feels-
sorry, what was it? For colleagues? What does
yeah,
that mean?
it feels like you're talking to your colleagues and you're trying to teach them something when you give a talk there. It doesn't feel aggressive or like looking down. It feels like you're sharing amongst equals.
Oh,
Trying
it's
to
fun.
advance your craft. Like it's incredibly refreshing experience.
I've had a mix where there's ones exactly like that, where it's like game devs for game devs. And then there's like the business pitch talks.
Oh,
where it's
yeah,
like someone
awful.
selling you some
Awful.
service. But the ones that are by devs for devs, like those ones are amazing. I went to one that was like, it was about music. There was like a live trio, like a clarinet, bass, and guitar trio, just like playing songs out there. I don't know, it was just a lot of fun. But yeah, anyway.
25 years, 25 lessons, or something along those lines for dual masters was my favorite talk. And if you have, I don't know if you're working CCGs.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great talk to see in the vault. Dual masters, if you're not familiar, was originally Magic the Gathering, and they spun it off to adapt it to the Japanese market. And they end up like really going in a different direction with the game. And it's been around for 20 years. And they have an anime and a manga based on it. Just to be clear, it's not Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just called Duel Masters. And the design, learning about I've always been curious, but learning about this game was fascinating. They have a US team and they have a Japanese team. So the US team is in Wizards of the Coast. The Japanese team, I think, is in Bandai Namco. I think they collaborate on some of this. And they only have about, I think it was 25 or 30 head count. They've been around for 15, 20 years, like something absolutely crazy. And there's this one moment in the talk where he talks about the quest system that they made for these physical cards. And the quest would have a individual task you have to complete during the game. Then what happens is you unfold the card and you get your second quest. You unfold it once more and you get your third quest. You complete your third quest, you flip over the card and it makes a giant monster. The cards unfold like a trifold.
Yeah, to visualize for
Just
the
in
listeners.
the audience.
It's the card. It's not just a card. It's like a trifold, like a pamphlet. Imagine a pamphlet. You unfold flap 1, unfold flap 2, flip it over. There's like an epic monster displayed on the back.
Really
It's like
fucking cool.
Exodia.
Basically, a really cool game design mechanic. The game itself also doesn't have formats. So you can play from cards that were at the origin of the game. And they have over 1,000 cards, which is mind-boggling to think about. And he didn't get into a lot of the balancing around it, but I would have loved to learn more.
Oh, it's just never rotating shit out as a balancing shit show. I'm just
Somehow they've made it work. Maybe it's just a bunch of filthy casuals.
The
It is
cards
for
is not
kids,
that much.
actually. That's probably
But-
true.
A normal set in Magic is like 250 cards. So
Yeah.
that's like your typical standard pool of cards anyway.
Fair enough. That's a good point.
Not so you could
Yeah.
do that.
So those talks were good. It's good. It's good to be like amongst colleagues.
So the other thing about GDC is if you don't know what you're doing, you show up, you pay like $2,000 for for a pass, which is fucking ludicrous, right?
Yep.
And we got these people like, oh, I've got some generative AI tool and I'm going to try to sell it to game developers, right? They're paying out the ass. They're sponsoring events, right? These third parties are funneling money into the game development community. Web3 last year, great example, right? Tons of money just pouring in for no reason. And essentially, I don't think this is explicit, but GDC is effectively subsidizing the game developers with this money, right? So if you're giving a talk, you get a pass for free, right? If there's all these sort of like events around the venue that are subsidized this way, and if you know how to get a back door, you can get a back door. You find a friend, oh, I'm leaving on Wednesday. Okay, just give me your pass on Wednesday and I'll just use it for the rest of the week. That kind of shit. And there's a lot of people who don't even attend.
You could do that. There's no individual.
I mean, it's got your name, but they're not going to check.
Yeah,
that
you just
shit.
scan a QR code before you get into all the rooms. Oh, I didn't even think about that. I got a Q economist too.
And then on top of that, there's a lot of people who show up who just never buy a pass. I talked to a couple of the Odyssey guys, Dax. Shout out to Dax. I love that guy. And they're just like, yeah, we're just here in town for the week because our friends are all here. And we didn't buy a pass because we don't want to pay for it. But there's enough value in just like the mingling and the conversations that happen outside the conference itself. But it's the first timers, the industry outsiders who are paying full price to get in, to have a booth, etc. And they're subsidizing the rest of us.
It's a really good shelling point for the industry. Like it becomes like a high school reunion almost.
Yeah.
How much money from startups is spent at GDC at these types of events? Like what percentage of funds that VCs put out there are then like indirectly put back into the game development community through like GDC, Gamescom, these types of things where you spend a shit ton of money for pretty much zero. What's the return to that spending? And I think like E3 being canceled is a pretty good indicator that it's not a great ROI.
I think a lot of the spend is B2B businesses. It's people selling third-party tools. This is a really unique market you get access to. I'm sure the CPIs would be really high to find game developers who make purchasing decisions for studios, but half the show floor felt like AI art tools.
The big booths were all game tools, B2B. Yeah.
How many times did you see the word AI used in these booths?
Decent amount. Not as much on the show floor, but I went to an external event that like, I don't want to shit on them too much, but like it was like an AI tool. They clearly didn't know shit about games and it was cringe. But the other thing is like GDC is like game developers meeting with other game developers. And normally there's these like company barriers that sort of limit communication, right? Like, oh, you're not supposed to share our trade secrets. But the thing I found is that like game devs love games and they love other game devs and they'll just talk to each other. I got Charlie here. I don't want to name his last name, but I milked him for secrets about his game. And I'm sure and if he asks me anything about my game, I'll tell him everything. I have nothing to hide. And this is a way in which we talk about corporate consolidation and labor markets and shit, but this is a way in which the labor force it's not a union, but there's a collective bond of, hey, actually, we're in it for each other. We're loyal to each other more so than we are loyal to our employers. And it's really nice to have that like firsthand. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd reframe it a little bit. I don't know if it's loyalty to each other. It's almost like loyalty to the craft. And if you trade things, I wouldn't say trade's also not the right words, but if you contribute to the public domain, there's all these public externalities you get from knowledge because it's non-rivalrous, which is nice. It's zero marginal cost to distribute information. And I agree with you. It's actually nice. I don't think it harms the industry. I think it makes us all better off. And I think everyone expects it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like an academic conference. Like you're just a bunch of the same people with the same interests.
Yeah.
Without that competitive, when you're working for your company, that your company is trying to outcompete other companies. But when you're at an academic conference, it's like, I'm just going to chat with my friends and trade secrets, and maybe we even collaborate on something. We come up with a project. That's always been my feeling as well. Whenever I go, though, I do a lot of, at least in the past, I've only been to GDC, I think 3 times. And at least 1.5 of those, I was like a BD person for some stupid reason, but I was basically doing.
Were you buying or selling?
Yeah, I was selling.
I'll edit in the Resident Evil clip right here.
What are you selling? I'll buy it at the right price.
But that was that. I would say I enjoyed GDC much more last year when I was more of just like a participant. I was just wandering around, just having fun, like going to see people. Did a little bit of stuff for my company, but it was more so about just like being a game person at a game conference. I mean, it was a much more enjoyable experience than running from hotel to hotel, because that is like a lot of GDC. You guys talk about these people who don't get passes. A lot of it is them sitting in a hotel lobby from person to person, which is like less magical. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just to give the
You get
sober,
really fit though.
take.
Just like schedule all
that
your
is-
meetings back to back with 5-minute travel time, and you're gonna get in shape here.
If you're a big enough shot, they come to you.
Yeah.
That's the meta I've seen.
Oh,
is they'll post up at a restaurant or at a hotel, and they just everyone comes to them.
So one of the people I work with just got a table at Fogo de Chao, the Brazilian steakhouse, and just paid a flat fee and got an unlimited amount of food just coming to him consistently. So like steaks just kept landing like every 30 minutes. It was incredible.
And he-
There's just like a rotating selection of guests who show up.
Yeah, he just posted on LinkedIn, just come hang out with me, free steak, and it was incredible steak, by the way. It's
Jesus
cooked in its
Christ.
own fat, served in a salt board. Oh,
Chow is It's next level.
Yeah, for sure.
How are your clients doing, Phil? You're a consultant. You're meeting with dozens of people. What are they excited about?
Not much.
The one positive spin I'll throw on is AI tools. As overhyped AI is, it actually massively reduces prototyping and like low end development. And at the very top end, right, if you need the best art and the best whatever, it's not going to cut it. And also the big companies are super afraid to use it for both legal reasons and also just internal company culture. Like the artists all hate it. But if you're like a small dev and you're prototyping some idea, it makes things lightning fast. Not just on the art asset generation, but also on the code development side. I work with a bunch of card game designers. They're all prototyping stuff in Bolt, people using Cursor and all these AI software development tools. And yeah, you can bring an idea to prototype so much faster that I think that end of the games industry will do better.
That is what I will say was number 3, was going around the indie section at the end of the conference. The number of 3D worlds, fully built out art schemas, or like fully built out worlds, 3D action for like these small indie devs was almost unheard of. Normally, like a lot of the indie games, they're cute, they have storytelling, they're 2D, they have 1 or 2 mechanics. When I went to that area, the expo floor, I was shocked at how powerful Unreal has been to help power some of this, and probably some of the AI tools are having an effect here. But like the ambition is also rising from smaller developers. I'm sure it's supply side driven, but I was still very impressed to see a lot of 3D high fidelity worlds from maybe teams of 5 or 6, and you would never have seen that beforehand.
There's a lot of fear right now of like corporate consolidation, especially in tech, but it's nice to see this helping the small fish.
Maybe, actually, I want to change my mind. I'm going to add all that shit.
All right.
Mobile has found a place at GDC. Maybe that's what I want to say is mobile has always had, I think, respect issues with the gaming industry, particularly like with HD folks. And GDC has always been a PC console space because that is what originally started, was PC console. But I think mobile now demands the respect of everyone, and as a conference for colleagues, I don't think anyone looks down on anyone else. There was a great Candy Crush panel here. The mobile game doctor guys gave their usual talk, live service summit at the beginning of the week. There was a bunch of other mobile talks that I really loved. It is clear to me the mobile is getting its respect from the industry now. We're 50-50 PC console, basically shows up in or PC HD mobile, and it shows up in every report. And I feel like that's really reflected in this conference. And also just like the level of respect I think people give to mobile now is real.
It's back in the day. When did you start at Scopely?
2018?
2018.
2019?
Like back in that day, did you feel, was the disrespect palpable?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was like mobile games. What the fuck? Like none of that garbage. Like it felt like a dumping ground for garbage. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think everyone respects what it takes to make those type of games, particularly the services. I think that's ultimately what's brought the respect to the yard. It's not the milkshake, it's the live service. And so I think that's been really cool to see.
To be clear, donut in hole is still garbage.
Donut in hole?
Oh,
you know, the
whatever that
all
game
in
was.
hole. All in hole. All in hole's
that type
awesome,
of like
man.
Reese crap is just a bunch of trash.
There's always, again, like I said, it's like a broad medium, right? Yeah, if you want to look at all video content, yeah, there's a bunch of garbage in there, but get your fine art pieces there.
We went to an indie game fest, and I would say the thing that I really need to discipline myself on is whenever we play a game, I immediately want to slap like a meta onto it. And I was like, how can we add hard currency to this? And like, how can we mechanize this? What can we do for level design to get like content funnel going?
Dude, there was a dude it was like a simple puzzle game. Clearly some idea he cooked up himself, right? No marketability to this thing. And Phil just starts telling him like, hey, you should add this streaks mechanic. This is how you can monetize. This is how you maximize retention. The dude's like, I don't know. I just made this for fun.
That's how you make money, right? It's like,
The guy had a baseball cap that said math on it. I never asked him about
What I will say that I thought was really interesting about the indie developers is when you have these one-person game teams, it's immediately apparent what they're really good at and also what they're really bad at. Like there was this one game, and I'll never forget it. It's about this robot butler, and you're going underneath tables, almost like a Roomba. And people are like throwing dishes on you and you're trying to catch them. And then you try to balance the dishes that are thrown to you, and then you dump them into something that approaches a dishwasher. And the character is so fucking cute, right? Because they ended up giving him wheels, but he refuses to actually roll on the wheels. Like he keeps stepping everywhere. And clearly that was something on purpose. And then the eyes emote, but the controls and the sensitivity on how you actually got the dishes just didn't work as well as I had hoped. But the storytelling just draws you into the world. It's a good highlight of what's working.
Did you say the guy was wearing a math hat? Sorry, Phil, this is completely off.
A math hat?
Yeah, his hat said math on it.
Just Matt.
That
I don't know if
Andrew
it was like an
Yang's
Andrew
slogan.
Yang thing or.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what it is. Make America think harder.
Maybe he just likes math. I like math.
Question. Did you guys end up going to the Revenue Mini Summit by
Dude, that was my favorite event. I just want to say favorite
Oh,
event.
really?
Also the best free food I had. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So
Color me
I will recommend
jealous.
it for two fronts. One, let me give you the vibes, right? It's like much more of a chill academic conference, right? Like people are showing up. The presenting, it's dry, but there's like a lot of content in there and you can tell they're experts on it. And also, they weren't trying to sell you anything. They were just like, here's information. Here's like a new technique people are using. Here's when it's good. Here's when it's bad. They're not like trying to say, you got to use it. Buy this from me.
And it was by Game Data Pros. They sponsored it. You should go buy their stuff.
Yeah.
Go to the website.
Game Data Pros. Love those
Awesome.
guys.
Love those guys. Yep.
And also the food was good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, there's so many like
So-
loud events and like this place was quiet and chill. So
I remember last year it was a very pleasant break from the chaos of GDC. So our friend Julian, he
Yeah.
with Use, is that right?
Yeah. Yost.
Did they? So I'm curious, what was the content like? I remember one of the, I don't want to call it a criticism, but one of the things that I noticed last time was some more, not indie devs, but people who didn't know anything about monetization at all or revenue optimization were there trying to learn something about how to make money. And they were a little bit like, you guys said it was an academic conference. So I assume it was mostly just like talking to other people who were like that. It wasn't something where, Joe shows up who's trying to monetize his like match 3 game. He didn't learn anything.
There was a little bit. I think there's a little bit
Okay.
of that. Like one of the things I've noticed that we often underestimate is most devs, when they want to make their game better, will literally just Google, how do I do this? Like blog posts, Deconstructor Fun, like this is how they've won, is like they've owned SEO, right? Like most people just put it into Google and we don't title our shit like how to make more money in match. And I think we maybe should be more straightforward so we can get some SEO going, but that's how they do it, right? They read it, like this is the problem I need to solve, to show up and I'll see if I learn anything. That's why I think your talk was really good. Like it was pretty clear. It's a roundtable, we're gonna be talking about these things. Like it goes a long way.
Yep.
We do have someone who should join us. You should give your impressions of GDC. Just give your impressions as a first timer. You just say you're economy designer.
this was Phil's dream to get a guest.
This is all I wanted. That's all I wanted. We're joined by an economy designer. Would you mind introducing yourself a little bit, however you like?
Hi, my name's Charlie. I'm a game economy designer. I've been working in the industry for almost 12-ish years.
Ben, you previously were at Kabam.
Yeah.
And now you're at a really great company we don't have to talk about. Is it your first GDC?
Yes, it is my first GDC.
Tell us about it. What was it like? What were your expectations coming in?
A lot of people have told me what GDC was like. Obviously, like prior to coming here, I also asked other people. So I expected it to be super busy, super chaotic. But my actual experience was it was fine. It wasn't that overwhelming. So it's nice.
Did you go to any of the talks?
Yeah, I went to quite a few talks, but I think as a first timer, if I was to do it again, I think I would spend more time on the socializing.
What?
There were definitely some talks that was really good. I watched one about how Val became Val. That was a really cool one.
Tell us more. How did Val become Val?
It'll be on the Val, but essentially like she described like all the struggles that they had starting the company and just some insider stuff. Like I thought that was a very fascinating talk. Because then as someone that's just looking at them from the outside, it just seems like, okay, they're this company that has like everything together. They know what's going on. They obviously did everything right. But yeah, no.
Fort Knox over there. Maybe we can get no one button.
But I think my learning is that it doesn't matter what company you're from. Like everyone has their own struggles, and just that's somewhat comforting to know.
Any new connections here? Like any?
You guys, Actually, so interestingly, I actually spent a lot of time with my other coworkers. There's a lot of us that came here, and one of the things about the company is that we are quite isolated if we don't work on the same team. Yeah, so I actually
It took coming to America from Europe for you guys.
Yes. So that's how we bonded. Like a lot of us actually just got together and got to know each other a lot better. So
That's really cool.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Like Cell.
Yeah.
Very cool. What do you think of San Francisco?
San Francisco. My second time in San Francisco. So this time it's a lot better. I like the city, but I hate the weather. The weather is just this week. This week is
What's wrong with the weather?
it's so chaotic. Like the weather on Sunday when I came here, it was at first it was sunny. Then within 15 minutes it started raining. Then it became super windy, and it just cycled through that repetition for the next 6 hours. I was like, what is going on? Yeah.
You got to have the, all the different outfits if you're going to live in San Francisco. It gives you an opportunity to wear your special coat and your fancy hat and all this stuff. You don't
That's
get to wear
true.
your cool outfits if you don't have the cold, the rain, the snow, and the heat.
Yeah, just essentially just gonna prepare for all weather. So yeah.
The outlook. Outlook? Yeah, what's your outlook for the game industry going forward? Outlook. Do you feel better or worse about our future?
Tell me whether I'm fucked or not.
I don't know. I have no idea about the outlook. All I can say is I don't know. There's a lot of people struggling right now in the industry with all the layoffs, and a lot of it is just really rough. It's a really tough time for a lot of people.
I was hoping I would get into this GDC conversation with you guys and you make me feel good about everything.
Any advice to a new first-time attendee? What would you tell them?
Definitely learn stuff, but like I say, I wouldn't spend all of my time on there. The networking part, the talking to other people part, that's the part that I really got the most value from, I think. Yeah. And especially, I noticed that there were quite a few students coming here for the first time. Don't be afraid to just go up to someone and say hi, introduce yourself.
I think that makes sense. Be willing to be a little bit aggressive. But also be okay when like people say no too.
Yeah.
It happens, but take your shot. No one's going to think less of you for having said, hey, do you have any time to chat?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was definitely saying most people are willing to chat. Most people have something interesting to say. And yeah, like,
Roundtables were really good. Eric's roundtable was great.
We'll have a link to it.
Did you-
GDC Vault when it's out?
Charlie, did you meet the guys at that round table, or did you meet them somehow other way?
That's how I met Eric, actually. 'Cause
Yeah.
then the roundtable, it was a more casual format, and everyone, like, people had an opportunity to speak. And I think that made it easier for you to connect with other people because you already had like a primed dialogue there. Yeah. So you're not like cold calling someone, right? A lot harder, I think.
With that.
Yeah.
we also all went out for lunch after. And then 11 a.m. time.
You just go to a random restaurant and
So we all
He's-
just got takeout and went to a nearby park. We went to the park. We got takeout burritos and just sat in a park and ate. It was great.
sounds awesome. Is it that park that's like kind of up a level? It's like a
No, it was
rolling-
like several blocks away, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, those gardens are nice.
I do have an econ puzzle for us. As I've walked around here, that's been really bothering me. And I don't know if this is a true observation, but I think it's true. So there's all of these walk-up convenience store, sandwich, coffee place, and they always have a shit ton of inventory. Like it's all just like cookies and like random bars just in their original box that they've opened, just like fucking dumped by the cash register. And there's so many of these every 5 feet in San Francisco. It feels like a very San Francisco thing, and I can't figure out why that's the equilibrium here. Like what set of rules or incentives or institutions?
What
do you
seems
mean?
puzzling about it?
I don't see any of these walk-up places with all this shit laid out in front of you anywhere else besides here now.
When you say laid out, what do you mean?
Like they literally just will dump like 3 layers or 3 rows of inventory of like candy, cookies.
What, at the
candy,
counter at the cash register?
at the counter at the cash register. Like they have
I mean, I
way
see it
too
at the gas station.
Yeah, and they're like their names are like Joe's Coffee, and it's on like a brown sign in white text, and it's got like a phone number, and it says coffee takeout.
What's puzzling to you about it? Is it that like they're willing to waste so much inventory, or
Yeah, what like why would you just buy all this inventory and leave it out? I thought food was perishable.
Is it a front,
margins
or
are
is this
crazy.
like a cart or a storefront?
It's a storefront. There's a million of these around SF. Am I wrong on this observation?
I haven't.
I mean, I'm
tried
just
out,
saying-
but I'd believe it, and I think just the margins are so ludicrously high that
Yeah.
like they're willing to waste. Their like their weight spoilage percentage that they're willing to tolerate is much higher.
But
I've
there's
also
no
definitely seen that in other countries for sure.
Some of these places look pretty rough, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
against some dumbass like tourists like a cookie for $10. Like hell yeah.
It's not like blue bottle prices. We're talking like normal prices, like good prices.
Normal for you, a huge markup for them.
I got a taco for $3, which I was
Oh.
actually wasn't at one of these places. So
Yeah,
I
well, how
take it
much was
back. It was actually I got a $15. I got a $21 sandwich at one of them. I take everything back.
But it was good.
Yeah. I'm gonna start documenting these places so when I reference this, people will know what I mean.
Because they had a lot of, it sounds like you're describing India. There was just like a ton of but they were like these little huts. It was like a little cart and there was just like tons of stuff. And I'm like buying this stuff. Actually, it's India. So there's like billions of people everywhere. So they're buying it. But I could see the conundrum. But like, I also would ask you, who's buying all the mattresses at the mattress stores on every single street corner?
Yeah.
The 4 mattress stores in Champaign, and I have bought 1 mattress in my whole life up until this point.
I think there's a different law on walk-up windows here, which is much more common that you could walk up to a storefront and be on the street and you could get food. I saw quite a few places doing that. I assume there's some sort of like local ordinance that makes this possible, and it's really cool.
Yeah, now that you mention that, it does seem like an SF.
The walk-ups? It could just be a
window
it could
that's on
just
the
be like a
streets.
what's LA like? Do they have LA's weird one because it's like a giant sprawling suburb.
We don't have that.
suburb. No.
No.
I can't remember.
I got a really good bagel when I was in San Francisco last time.
A lot of
from walk-up
bagels here.
place.
A lot of
Just showed up
bagels.
and, yeah. Some locks. Guys, I gotta hop to dinner.
Any last thoughts before we wrap up here and I edit whatever this will become?
I heard an anecdote of the quintessential San Francisco experience. Shout out to Richard Henkel. They were at a boba. They're walking out. One of their friends is complaining, "Oh man, I can't believe I spent $20 on boba, overpriced boba." They walk out. They see a human being taking a shit on the street. Peeks out, turd coming out. They're like, "Oh god!" And then a Waymo car, one of those self-driving like Uber taxis, comes up and someone hops into it. And they're like, "Wow, this is the most San Francisco experience I've ever had."
The highest highs and the lowest lows.
Jarring.
Game Economist Cast, episode 38, GDC special.
38.
Let's make it GDC.
GDC special 2025 in the books. All right, Chris, we'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
We should teach this to our children. Economics is major. Everyone has to major in economics. Number one, for personal survival. Economics is major.